What's up guys, and welcome back to another eBay miniature rescue. So I got this fantastic package in the mail from Matrix Cards and Games in Redding, California. So this shop is a 3,000 square foot hobby shop and gaming center where you can play tabletop games and card games and board games and all sorts of stuff. And it's put together in a really family-friendly environment, which I really appreciate in any hobby shop. So I got an email from Alan and his wife Terri, who own and run the shop, and they offered a little bit of assistance in the way of some supplies. Not only did this package include the new Games Workshop Contrast line to try out on this channel, but some really unique models that need rescuing. And I won't go into detail too much because they're new on the sprue, but they're not exactly new. They were a little beaten up and trashed, so to speak. So I'll be using some of the contrast paints on that later, as soon as I finish fixing them up and building them, because they're a little bent, a little out of shape. For now, I'm going to jump right in on a model that's been on my shelf for probably about a year and a half, just waiting to be painted. And I figure, what better time than now with these new contrast paints to just jump right in and see what they do. So with the new Iyanden yellow, I'm going to do all of the armor on this Iron Jaws Ard boy. Orc flesh for the orc flesh. Black Templar for the weapon handles. Now, all the weapon handles on these Ard boys are pretty much cylindrical. And I think so far I'm kind of noticing that these contrast paints don't really work on flat surfaces or just straight cylindrical surfaces with no detail. I mean, the whole point is to put contrast into things, not just paint them. And I feel like this is kind of doing a little bit of a disservice to this color, which so many people have said that they liked. Coming in with Skeleton Horde, I'm going to take care of all of the bone. I think this is the first color that I've put on straight out of the pot and been pretty impressed with. You know, it gives that basic bone color, you know, white with a wash look right out of the pot, and it looks pretty nice. With Gorgruntifer, I'm going to take care of all of the leather. So I'm going to try Apothecary White on the weapons to see if I can get some kind of a, you know, like a silvery kind of look. I thought maybe this one would do. And it turns out it didn't really work as well as I'd hoped it would. I think this has some other applications that I'll have to discover. But for now, this is what I started with. And I'm going to basically calculate up all the time at the end so that you can kind of understand, even with making some mistakes and not really knowing how the colors work or react, how long that this model actually took. Now, because the contrast paints do take a little bit longer to dry, I'm just going to move on to the next step. So I took this Pterodon turquoise and I filled in some of the panels that are, you know, traditionally that kind of incubi darkness look on Iron Jaws that you kind of see all the time. Then coming in with Flesh Tear's Red, which is a little bit lighter of a red than, say, that Blood Angel's Red. I thought this would be more appropriate for, you know, inside of his mouth and his tongue. And I like the way it looked. I also dropped some into the cracks, you know, on his face where that scar is and in his eyes. Now, after that weapon is dried, I'm coming in with Basilicanum Gray. And I like that this is a little bit darker, but still has that kind of light gray silver look to it. I mean, I've been told anyways that you can do non-metallic metals with contrast paints, and we'll get to that somewhere down the line. But for now, just filling this in, it's got kind of a muted matte silver. So I'm going to compare this to a model that I painted probably about a year ago and see where it ended up. And I put in about 5 minutes on this model. I was trying to go as fast as I could without completely screwing it up, but basically just dipping it and going, then rinsing the brush, grabbing another color, and going for it again. And when it comes down to it, like, this doesn't look great, at all, especially in comparison with this other model. But it also took me 2% of the time to do the contrast model, and as you'll see in a minute, I throw it up against everything else in a group, and the flesh stands out, but honestly it kind of fits in. And if you need to get something done in a rush, or if this is your starting point, then I think this works really well. So I'm going to do some more tests with contrast. I want to make it a little bit of a thing for now, since they're new and people are pretty curious about them. So I'm going to incorporate them into videos for a little bit and see what else they can do. Thank you so much, Matrix Cards and Games, Alan and Terri, for sending me this awesome care package. I can't wait to come down to the store and meet you and hang out and see what the shop has to offer. I do plan on putting together those other models that came with this box, and for those specifically, I'm just going to do as much contrast paint as I possibly can. I want to see what works and what doesn't work, and how to get the best result as quick as you can. Because if you're flipping models all the time, if you're buying from eBay because you need a model quick and you want it on the table quick, then this seems like a pretty good option. So we're going to explore that in the coming months. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you, Matrix Cards and Games, once again. I'm Casey, and I will see you in the next video.